Hello, my name is Tony. Ross MacDonald's private eye hero Lou Archer became Lou Harper on the big screen. He was played by Paul Newman in the 1966 film version of MacDonald's first Archer novel, The Moving Target, which was scripted by William Goldman. In the States, the film was titled Harper, the character's new surname. Why, you may wonder? Well, the producers changed the name of the character because they never bought the rights to the series of MacDonald's Archer novels, just for The Moving Target. Therefore, if there were going to be more films, they could write their own scenarios and use the character rather than negotiating another deal with the author. Dog eat dog world, yeah? Before we go any further, I'd like to take the opportunity to remind you of the importance of subscribing in order to maintain the continued growth, health and welfare of the channel. Even more important, if you're able to do so, is to hit the thanks button and make a very welcome contribution to keeping this channel up and running and promoting the production of new content. Many thanks, much appreciated. Now back to our main feature. Harper was a fine 60s private detective movie. It was a critical and financial success and launched Goldman's screenwriting career. He did in fact adapt another MacDonald novel for the screen, The Chill, in which Newman was due to star with Sam Peckinpah slated to direct. Wonder what that would have been like. It lapsed into Project Drift and never materialized. 10 years later, Newman reprised the role a second and final time for 1975's The Drowning Pool. It was directed by Stuart Rosenberg, who had helmed Newman's 60s classic Cool Hand Luke and Walter Matthau's deliciously dark and perverse The Laughing Policeman. The screenplay had three scribes: Tracy Keenan Wynn, Aldrich's The Longest Yard, Lorenzo Semple Jr., Pakula's The Parallax View, and Walter Hill, Peckinpah's The Getaway. The score was by Michael Small, cinematography by Gordon the Godfather Willis. That's an indicator of the talent involved. The Drowning Pool was a box office flop. Audiences didn't seem to like it much and critics were similarly indifferent. When I first saw it in the Odeon Theatre in Cardiff, believe it or not, I was pretty underwhelmed. Thought it just okay. But then I saw it again a few months later in the old Market Hall cinema as one half of a double bill with another Newman flick, The Mackintosh Man, which is the film I specifically wanted to see on that occasion. And I thoroughly enjoyed it on the second go-round. Seemed to take on a new and different kind of life for me. Go figure. Let me consider the go figure bit. I think on first viewing, I was expecting it to be jazzy, snazzy and hip like Harper was. You know, the same confident, pacey and swaggering 60s ambience going on. But it wasn't like that. The character had aged 10 years, now greying, older, not much wiser, and things were more measured and slower. The look less Technicolor high society Los Angeles and more dustier and dirty Louisiana, which was where it was set. It had a distinctive antebellum deep south veneer and feel, an inference of a creeping arcane malaise cast in a pal over proceedings, instead of LA's zippier and glitzier fast-acting glamourpuss Poison. Plus the repeated shock intrusion on the soundtrack of well-known ballad Killing Me Softly with his song was initially a big source of irritation to me. Like, what the fuck was it doing there? So unnecessary. Second time around I was ready for it and found it easier to ignore. Just because you paid for the rights to use a song doesn't mean you have to, especially not more than once. You've got a perfectly fine and talented composer providing the score, let him get on with it for fuck's sake. MacDonald's Archer novels frequently drew upon the themes of dysfunctionality in family relationships and the secrets and closeted skeletons quietly rattling away within their dynamics. The emotional conflict and psyches at war with one another. Someone's always guilty of something, and there's an escalating centrifugal amorality that sucks our hero into its vortex. He always stays until the end because he's a determined, honourable Philip Marlowe, sort of white knight in tin can thin and tarnished armour. This is from a time when we identified with heroes because they had the guts to fail and learn as part of their character development arc before getting to where they needed to be, irrespective of if it was where they wanted or aspired to be. These days, they start out fucking brilliant and get more fucking brilliant towards the end, by which point they're super fucking brilliant, which to me is just bastard idle, lazy and boring. The Drowning Pool, the movie, deviates from the novel. It's set in Louisiana and not LA. In the book, the title refers to a swimming pool in which one of the characters is drowned. That doesn't figure in the film. And there are different characters with different motives and relationships. But no matter, we're here for the film. So, plot-wise, what's on offer? LA private dick Lou Harper, Paul Newman, is summoned to Louisiana by Iris Devereaux, Joanne Woodward. He and Iris had a 6-week fling back in LA some 6 years previously that left a lasting impression on both. Now she needs his help. By chance, she opened a letter addressed to her husband James Richard Durr, which accuses her of recent infidelity, of which she admits she is guilty. She wants Harper to identify the sender and scare them off. Iris and her husband and daughter live in an impressive sprawling mansion owned by her affluent land-rich mother-in-law Olivia Devereaux Coral Brown. Olivia is a stern and controlling matriarch with a vice-tight iron grip on things and people and a passion for bird sanctuaries. Crazy, prosperous old bat, in other words. James, her son, is more interested in young male artists than women generally. It's no stretch to read between the lines. Let me put it this way. If the actor playing him was named Ben instead of Richard, that would be a clue. It turns out that the underage nymphette who just propositioned Harper in his motel room is Skylar Melanie Griffith, Iris's promiscuous daughter. Heated, seamy stuff already, but it gets worse. Iris suspects the letter writer is ex-chauffeur Pat Revis, Andy Dirty Harry Robinson, who she's recently sacked for primarily pursuing an age-inappropriate relationship with Skylar. It isn't long before Harper is falling foul of the locals. Thuggish cop Lieutenant Franks Richard Jekyll wants to shoot him or beat him up or both. Talk about taking an instant dislike, eh? Frank's boss, Chief Broussard Anthony Franciosa, has a creepy interest in the Devereaux family and will be keeping Harper under close surveillance. He would really prefer it if he left town, like now. Local oil baron Kilbourne Murray Hamilton wants to buy land from Olivia so he can drill it for oil. His hoods abduct Harper so he can pitch him a job offer, which is feed back any useful information on the Devereaux in return for cash. Shortly afterwards, Olivia is found floating dead in a stream on her property, her head stoved in. Prime suspect is the missing ex-chauffeur Revis. In his efforts to locate the guy, Harper coerces information from his girlfriend Gretchen Linda Haynes, a friendly but none too bright prostitute. Before he can track him down, he's abducted by two hoods in the employ of a mysterious woman. Mavis Gail Strickland is looking for a missing account book she believes Revis has. She soon figures Harper doesn't know anything, so has him unceremoniously ejected from a moving car. Harper finds Revis hiding out with another of his women, his wife Elaine, Helena Calianotes. Harper accuses him of being paid by Kilbourne to murder Olivia. Escorting him to intended custody at gunpoint, Revis protesting his innocence all the way. They are run off the road by a large truck. There are 3 armed masked men from the truck, one of whom Harper shoots in the arm just as he blasts Revis with a shotgun. Harper manages to escape and report back to Broussard. When he's informed that Lieutenant Franks is on sick leave after a hunting accident, an injury sustained to his arm no less, he starts to piece things together. Franks is corrupt and on Kilbourne's payroll. Mavis is Kilbourne's wife and worked with Revis to steal Kilbourne's account book, which contains evidence of criminal activity. She wants out of her marriage because Kilbourne is an egomaniacal nutbar, as good a reason as any. Revis stashed the account book in Gretchen's trailer. If Revis didn't kill Olivia, which he didn't, then who did? Well, Harper may not get to find out, as Kilbourne and his henchman Candy, Paul Coslow, incarcerate him and Mavis in the hydrotherapy room of the old county asylum. Kilbourne bought the abandoned building for sentimental reasons. His mother spent considerable time there. She wasn't on the staff. Tortured with a high-pressure fire hose but refusing to reveal where the account book is, Harper and Mavis are left there overnight to contemplate their fates come morning. The only potential escape route is the skylight high up in the roof. Harper blocks the drains and turns on all the faucets. Plan being the hydrotherapy room will fill with water and they will be elevated to the skylight. Just one thing though, what if they can't get it open when they get there and the water keeps on rising? Oops. The drowning pool isn't big, brash, loud or action-packed. Not showy or ostentatious, it's a quieter, more contemplative convolution, ticking over sedately rather than racing to the finish line. Quite lyrical in its own way. Newman, an epitomizing figure of 60s cool, draws on his previous performance in Harper, yet refocuses by toning down the earlier cockiness and witty smart-ass stylings, adding in facets of experience born of age and a jaded round-the-edges nuance. He's still determined to crack the case and get to the truth, tenacious and unable to back off or back down. showdown. Only nowadays he's resigned to the knowledge that little good will come of any of it, just that someone somewhere might be saved or better off for his efforts. Newman is Newman being Harper, and he's bloody great at it. Some married couples who are actors, have an electrifying chemistry when appearing together on the big screen. Burton and Taylor in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf being a prime example of a couple whose real-life domestic or romantic situation added a crackling, incendiary realism to their screen interactions. Alternatively, there's the Bronson Island syndrome. Charles Bronson and Jill Island appear together many times, and for me fail to generate any meaningful spark. Their real-world relationship almost a distraction rather than a benefit. To some extent, I get the same unexciting, damp squib impression from Newman and Woodward. Apart from their first screen pairing, of course, in The Long Hot Summer in 1958, in which they sizzled a fair bit. She's okay in the role of Iris, but if anything a little anonymous, seemingly detached, as if she's aware this is essentially a vehicle for Newman and keeps her performance very low-key. She doesn't project much of anything as a promiscuous serial adulteress, and their scenes together, usually marred by tortuous encores of Killing Me Softly in the background, never fully come to life. The supporting cast is lively enough though. Anthony Franciosa is particularly good as a hovering police chief with a secret. Richard Jekyll suitably hard-headed and aggressive as his corrupt sergeant. And Murray Hamilton is wonderfully obnoxious as the deep-fried southern slime ball oil magnate Kilbourne. Of the women, Melanie Griffith reprises her sex-weaponizing nymphette role from Night Moves, minus any provocative nudity this time. Her scenes with Newman, especially when he casually and automatically kicks her out of his motel room in seconds, have a nice abrasive combative edge. Linda Haynes delivers a sensitive turn as Gretchen, a dumb blonde character made less stereotypical by her sweetly innocent vulnerability to male exploitation, and Gail Strickland handles the switch from mysterious femme fatale to terrified abused wife with persuasive ease. Paul Koslow, who rarely survived intact the movies he appeared in, is an enthusiastically sadistic henchman, and it's good to see Andy Robinson making the most of his role as another largely unsympathetic character, a low-life criminal, statutory rapist and serial womanizer. One scene of note caught me out on first viewing. When Harper confronts Franks in his home, he forces a confession and information out of him with a little game of Russian roulette. He tells Franks there are 2 bullets in the 6-shooter. He pulls the trigger and fires a live round into the wall for effect. There's one left to all intents and purposes, but I deduced this was a bluff by Harper and the gun was actually empty. Harper aims at Frank's head and dry fires 4 times until he gets what he wants. Then aims the gun at the wall and fires one last time. A live round explodes from the barrel. What? Seems he wasn't bluffing. Great scene, I was certainly wrong-footed by it. Lovely! Okay, the attempted escape from the hydrotherapy room, which is a tense and suspenseful episode, was a really stupid idea from a supposedly intelligent and sharp operator like Harper. But I suppose it's there in part as an early climactic resolution of certain events prior to the big reveal at the end, you know, the who-did-it bit of the who-done-it. And it's a nice little nail-biter with a satisfying payoff. The footnote scene sees Harper taking only what he's owed for time and expenses from Revis's illicit stash of cash. Iris can't pay him because, well, he leaves the rest on the account book with Gretchen, which rounds things out nicely in a humane way. Gretchen was the only halfway humanly decent character and one of the most abused, so she could use a break. And don't forget, Harper's a good guy. Obstinate, a touch self-righteous, but a good guy out to do the right thing. I like the drowning pool. Rosenberg's no-nonsense and economical direction, small score with its Dixieland-inspired piano motifs, and Willis's misty yet insightful cinematography. I like how it proffers a sly juxtaposition between the theoretical crassness of acquiring riches through the dirty business of oil profiteering and the supposed elegance of wealth sourced from the dirty business of historical inheritance, old money from old practices. A deviant morality cuts a dash through both. Harper dips his feet in both ponds, or pools if you like. He swims in the shadow of Kilbourne's refinery and gets tainted by oil on the soles of his bare feet. He walks on the manicured lawns of the Devereux estate and gets a whiff of brimstone in the nostrils from a charred typewriter. Is one type of greed better than the other? No, probably not. Both are the instigators of death and disaster, sickness and ruination. Neither leaves the world any less ruinous or sickened. I can only speak from my own experience, and that experience decreed to me that the Drowning Pool was deserving of a second chance. I saw it once and was left unimpressed. I saw it a fortuitous second time and felt differently towards it. Maybe it's one of those films that improves with a second take. Some do, you know, but it's a subjective phenomenon. If you've seen it and didn't rate it, it's up to you whether you feel it's worth your time to give it another look. Worked for me is all I'm saying. Thank you for your time and attention. Whatever else you may think, it is gratefully appreciated, I can assure you. If you got anything out of this, or even if you didn't, feel free to strike like or don't like if you wish, post a comment or subscribe to the channel. Then there's my Patreon page you could check out, or the super thanks button down below there. Yes, it's the gift that keeps on giving, pilgrims, to me that is. I will be back in the fullness of time. For now, y'all take care.